Thank you so much, Dan. That was a treat. So I'm going to ask you some questions now about being an author in Alaska. How long have you been writing?
Well, I've been making up stories since I was a kid because I can remember when I was living on the homestead down on the Kenai um, that I would entertain myself when I was doing chores or just bored in the afternoon by myself of making up stories for myself. But it took me till I was an adult to be disciplined enough to actually start writing stories down. And then I was probably 40 when I actually wrote the first draft of Secondhand Summer, which a lot of which is a true story about my experience uh, of my first summer living in Anchorage after we left the homestead. It was quite an adventuresome summer, and
Yeah, you got into a little trouble.
well, we actually dodged a little trouble,
Uh-huh.
yes. But it was, I fell in with a group of boys that were kind of like a pack of feral dogs roaming around Government Hill in Anchorage.
Awesome. And so you have the sequel as well, but then you have a few other books. Can you tell us about some of your other books you've written?
Yes, well, I also wrote a book that's near and dear to my heart called Letters from Happy Valley that is titled that because we homesteaded in a quaint little area called Happy Valley on the Kenai Peninsula. And about 6 or 7 years ago, we found a pack of letters that my grandmother had saved that my mom and dad wrote back to Ohio when we moved to Alaska in 1958.
Wow.
And they tell the wonderful story almost day to day of our travel up the highway to Alaska and making a home there in Happy Valley. And so I was able to stitch together my vague memories and experiences to the wonderful letters that my parents wrote to make that memoir.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. I love that book. I have it in my bag over here. Maybe next time we'll read that one.
There you go.
But what is the best way for people to find your books?
Well, I'm available, of course, on Amazon, but I have a website, dlwalker.com, and or if you just Google D.L. Walker or the titles of my books, you'll probably track me down, and you can buy my books on my website, or especially a lot of the bookstores in Alaska will have them or can get them for you.
I think they're at Forest Tides and Treasures in Seward, right?
Yes, they are. They're also at Resurrect Art and at Primrose Provisions in Seward.
Wonderful.
So when
Well,
you come to visit Seward, there's lots of good writers in Seward and a lot of opportunities to learn about the area by reading the stories we've written.
awesome. Thank you so much, Dan. And I'm going to add a link to his website in the description of this video as well. Thanks, Dan.